So in January, my husband Peter was hurt in a bicycle accident. We were married at the time 3 years. So he was riding his bike through San Francisco from our home in Potrero Hill, which is more on the south side of the city, right into the Golden Gate Bridge, actually. And when he hit a certain area of the city, he encountered some railroad tracks and ended up sort of slipping over them and actually falling just beyond the railroad tracks, and he suffered a C3, C4 spinal cord injury. We knew within the first week that we were going to need to ask for financial help. Pete was a fellow at the time, not making much money. I worked for a nonprofit in education in San Francisco, not making much money. And we knew that that was going to come to an end at some point soon because Pete was almost done training. So we were in a situation where we were either going to have to move in with our parents, who were newly retired and had saved their whole lives for their retirement, or we'd have to ask for help from our friends. So our friends suggested write a letter and ask people for money. I didn't know if, at the time we thought we'd have to go home with a hospital bed, wheelchairs, Pete wouldn't be able to work. We didn't know. And I was not working at the time either because I quit. So we sent out this letter asking people for help and sort of naming things, listing things that we felt we needed help with, what we would use the money for. So money just started coming. It just came. And it came from people that we didn't even know. And it came from mothers of friends and friends from grade school and our high school. We went to the same high school. Our high school ended up having a fundraiser. My brother and his friends have a band, and they had a fundraiser in the city for us. It just turned into this really amazing, generous sort of community gathering in so many ways. I had feelings of burnout. I think it was definitely building up to about, I think, a year after. And I remember learning about stages of mourning and somebody telling me that a year after was when it would become really difficult. And I sort of approached his injury in a way as sort of going through mourning because we had lost so much. Panic attacks started happening and they were scary. And when I say lose it, for other people who have had panic attacks, it's the breathing heavy, the feeling of doom, of fear, I remember feeling like it was very primal, going to the floor, huddling, wanting to cover myself with a blanket, feeling scared about my breathing and making sure that I wasn't going to suffocate. So the triggers would come in really interesting ways, and they were scary because I never knew when that was going to come. I never knew if I'd be out in public and I would drop. I remember, I think, dropping a pen in my car or something really silly and feeling like that was it for me. I started training for a triathlon again and found that it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be in terms of being with Pete and making sure his needs were met and having enough time to actually do the training that I needed. I would sometimes wake up at 5 or 6 and Pete would be in bed, but as long as he didn't move, he didn't try to get up, he was fine, and I'd make my way back. And it was just trying things that initially I was really afraid of. I never wanted to leave Pete alone in bed or leave him, and if there was an emergency, he would have to figure out a way to get out of the house. I was always fearful of that in the beginning, but trying things little by little, I realized, okay, as long as he's got the phone next to him, that's the best we can do. So I started to do those things little by little, getting out of the house while he was here by himself. So exercising was really helpful. Going back to school really turned into sort of nature's antidepressant for me. I realized that being in school and working toward a goal, having new friends, and eventually knowing that school was going to lead to a different career was huge for my self-esteem. Knowing that if I was ever going to be alone, I would have a career and um, I could, I could survive. I didn't know if Pete could ever really work for very long, so I knew that having a career, and I ended up going to nursing school, would would help us if he couldn't work. So that really, that became a something that I really enjoyed. So Pete's paralysis is really patchy. He's from the neck down. He's been affected. It's affected him physically, absolutely, and in his sensation and temperature. So that has affected how intimate we can be with each other. This has been the single most difficult part for me, is the lack of physical connection, whether it be through sex or just through the ability to hold hands or to touch each other. We'll try to be physically intimate when we can. We definitely try. But it's hard because we're always comparing our physical experiences to the past. At least I am. I can only speak for myself because I know that he is much more open-minded when it comes to this, wanting to try to be with me physically. And I often resist because I can't help but to think of how it used to be. And it turns into a lot of sadness for me. So it's hard to be intimate and to sort of feel passion for somebody when you put yourself back in sort of those pre-injury romanticized thoughts of you as a couple. One thing that really, I think, gets me to a positive place in my life, is really feeling a sense of pride over what I feel like we've accomplished as a couple. And that sense of pride really tends to lift my mood a lot and my self-esteem. As a result of this injury, I really like who I've become. I feel like I can advocate on behalf of other people in a much stronger way. I'm not a passive observer anymore when I see people who are struggling. I have a stronger voice, not only for my husband and myself, but for others. I don't know if I would be that way if it wasn't for this accident. And I by no means want to say that this accident happened for a reason, or that it's because I don't like that. This accident has been horrible for him and for me. But when we wake up in the morning, we have a job to do. We have to get through the day. We have to make sure Pete's in the shower at a certain time, out the door at a certain time, that we're going to our jobs, that we're having dinner, that he's being catheterized, that everybody's in their place to orchestrate and to make the day happen. When those days go by and we're together at night, and we always go to bed together, I shouldn't say always, 95% of the time we go to bed together, and we take that time to sort of do a little bit of reflection on our day and say, good job, or, we made it through the day, or, we celebrate small moments for each other. I feel really proud of that. If you spent the day with us and knew what it took to get Pete to work and home and in bed, it takes a lot, and I'm just really thankful to people who have helped us get there, and thankful to Pete for being as receptive and honest and open and caring and empathic toward me. If I look back at the last 7 years and realize we're here today and he's working and we're getting through the day, no matter what our day looks like, we're surviving it, we have smiles on our faces, and that means a lot to us. So we do a good job of congratulating each other on that.